What's up, guys? Static in the Attic. I knew when I started talking about the Bible that it was a no-win situation. I was going to piss off everybody that didn't believe in the Bible. I was going to piss off everybody that had a resentment towards God. And then I was going to piss off all the Christians because I was presenting a different point of view. Now, regarding the Nephilim and the sons of God or versus fallen angels debate, boy, I got slayed in the comment. I mean, people just acted like it was the first time that I had ever opened up the Bible and just decided to start spouting off. And that's partially true. I did start seeing some things in a new way. What I should have been very much more clear about is if you don't have a solid faith in Jesus, then you probably shouldn't be watching those videos at all. And I probably shouldn't even have mentioned that Elohim and Yahweh, when those two terms are mentioned, it's most likely two aspects of the same God. I think there is deeper meaning in splitting those words up. I do believe the Bible is divinely inspired, even in the translation of. I don't think it was inspired just in the words and then left alone. I think God knew that the King James Bible was going to reach hundreds of millions of people. So I think the way it is written is important too. And I know for the people that don't believe in the Bible at all, and it's the control book, well, yes, it was turned into a control book, and it's part of the subversion plan. I'll just have to do another video on that. It's too long to get into here. But here's the truth on the Nephilim is before everybody started making videos about them a couple years ago, I had never given them that much thought. And anybody out there that's going to be honest with themselves is going to say the same thing. It wasn't the high point of the Bible. I don't know. Maybe you did. I don't know. But I've seen this subversion that I was just talking about at work everywhere, especially on YouTube. So I don't care if there's 100,000 videos out there saying exactly who the Nephilim are, I'm still going to question it. And so when I put out the video saying that the sons of God was referring to Seth and Enos, everybody thought I was absolutely crazy. But hey, let's take a look at what biblical scholars say about this. Guys, I had no idea this was out there. I just opened the book and was reading. But let's have a look at biblical scholars on the subject, okay? Not YouTubers, scholars. And I will do point and counterpoint to be fair on things. So this is from Christianity.com. Says exactly what I said, that Genesis 1:6 doesn't say exactly who the Nephilim are. It says right down at the bottom there, no one really knows exactly who or what the Nephilim are. It just says sons of God. Now, the first view is exactly what any YouTuber out there is going to tell you, that fallen angels had relations with the daughters of men. Second position is that demons or fallen angels possessed men and then had relations with the daughters of men. And the third is the Sethite view. I didn't know there was a word for it at the time, but that's exactly what I had pointed out, was that the sons of Seth could possibly be the sons of God, or Seth and Enos themselves, actually. And then lastly, a view held by a very small minority is that the sons of God were simply fallen men. Now, I'm going to have to try to find this video to share with you guys of this old pastor. It was recorded back in like the 80s, and he talked about back in the 30s going door to door. He was a door-to-door knocking pastor, and he got invited into basically a Catholic conclave. It was Society of Jesus members, and they tried to lure him in to be one of them, but It's an amazing video. It's about 2 hours long. I'll dig it up for you guys. But guys, the amount of subversion that they will go through, they will literally train priests to go to Protestant churches to marry a girl to get into the church and then work their way up the ranks of the church to subvert each and every church out there. So that, combined with a lot of YouTube and things, is a very good formula for changing views on things. But just wanted to point that out. Everybody knows Theory 1. There's a million videos out there saying for definite sure, and I'm going to say right now, we'll get more into the book of Enoch in a little while, but guys, it's not like the book of Enoch was written by Enoch. He was pre-flood. You think that everything was destroyed except for Noah and the ark and Enoch's book? No. And secondly, the book of Jasher is from the 1600s. So, no, I don't accept those at all. If you want to, fine. But I look at those as outside issues. And honestly, I need to stop even being in the comments and worrying about what thousands of other people think, because it's way too much for me. And then I end up going off on Blue Sky's channel for no reason. So Blue Skies, I owe you an apology totally. I was rude to you for absolutely no reason, and I'm sorry. I do get wound up over this stuff, guys, because this is all-out war on us. And I really need to just keep my head down, follow my heart, and not worry about what else is going on, not worry about the results. But what I do know is, reading through the Bible, when I get to the end of Genesis 4, it says that God appointed Eve another seed instead of Cain, who slew Abel, and his name was Seth. So I am not the only one out there to ever think this way. The Sethite view is growing rapidly within the church and is possibly the most common view today among scholars. Here, the sons of God are defined as the righteous line of Seth that disobeyed God and married women from the line of Cain. Note, some believe these women were not exclusive to Cain's family line. The women who married the line of Seth followed other gods and rejected the alliance to God. The offspring, as a result, fell away and turned to the system. And I got to say, it makes me feel really good to find this, because it's not easy putting your neck out on the line saying this is what I believe, even if it goes in contrast of everything else everybody else is putting out. It's really not easy. Jewish scholars have favored this view according to the Jewish historical writings and literature as early as the 1st century. Famous scholars and theologians who have held this position are St. Augustine and John Calvin. Yeah, the first Protestant that waged war against the Catholic Church, that John Calvin, believes exactly what I pointed out. So here we are assuming that from Seth to Noah, all the way down the line there, all the past members were obedient to God to preserve a right of, I can't read that because the timer is in my way. You guys can read it. Okay, that was one website, Christianity.com. Let's go to IsraelAHistoryOf.com. The sons of God were Sethites. There should be no confusion about who the sons of God are in Genesis if you understand that there were two distinct peoples after the fall. Guys, I didn't know this stuff was out there before I made these videos. It's just what was in my heart. Genesis says that Adam had sons and daughters, and after Cain killed Abel, he wandered until he set up a city. Now, in order to found a city, you have to have a multitude, of course, and Cain's first son was Enoch. Most people do not realize there were two Enochs. When Adam was 130, he fathered Seth. Now, guys, I'm really not patting myself on the back. I'm trying to inspire you, honestly, because it's not easy to say, hey, I see things in a different way and then go with it. But just like I was saying, there's two different generations going on in the Bible. They're very clearly saying exactly what I said here. Most do not realize that there were two Enochs. Cain's first son was Enoch, but also when you're looking at the Genesis 5, the generations where everybody was living, 800 years, then Jared was the father of Enoch. It's clearly two different lines there. Seth was to pick up the line of righteous men, followed by his listed descendants. Cain was the father of all evil, basically, and Seth was appointed to Eve by God as the other line in place of Cain. Keep in mind that the world sunk into corruption quickly after the fall of Adam. Not all of Adam's sons and daughters were righteous. Perhaps many joined up with the older brother Cain in his city and continued down their path of corruption. Cain was never sorry for his actions. The few Sethites, those righteous descendants of Seth, most likely avoided the rapidly growing and wicked Canaanites. Here you have the two types of men, those who follow God and those who do not. Those who are righteous are known as the sons of God. Those who are wicked are known as sons of man. In this case, the righteous men saw the daughters of the worldly and intermingled or married them, ultimately turning the righteous into wicked men. You see this going on today. If you marry an ungodly or an unbeliever, the result will ultimately be that you will begin to follow the world, just exactly like the Society of Jesus priests that infiltrate the Protestant church to this day. Well, they had children, of course, and in those days there were giants. Man's stature, strength, longevity, and mental capacity pales in comparison to those living before the flood. Within 400 years of the flood, you see a rapid shortening of people's lives. Up until the Tower of Babel, there was one language and a great deal of knowledge. Before the flood was known to Noah and his 3 sons and their wives. Much of this knowledge was passed down. When the languages were confused at Babel, the mass of Noah's descendants splintered and moved off to form different countries. They realized the lives of their fathers and grandfathers were longer than their own, and they realized they could not attain the knowledge of their ancestors, so each group developed their own written language in an effort to retain some of this rapidly dwindling knowledge. Thus, they began to write things down. So guys like Ham, Shem, and Japheth would have been seeing their grandchildren come and go. I mean, the lifetime dwindled down to 120 years quickly after the flood. Now, guys, I do believe that the Bible is divinely inspired in all its different translations. It's meant to portray the message to the particular reader. I think God is unfathomable in his ways to us. But I don't think that the book of Enoch was divinely inspired. That's just my take on things, and that's actually the scholarly take on things. Just because it has the name of someone, and they point out again right here that it wasn't written by either Enoch. There were 2 different Enochs before the flood. But just because it has the name of someone does not mean that it was written by that person. The descendants of Noah also noticed that their stature and strength were diminishing as well, some faster than others. Noah and Seth remained alive all during this time, even up to Abram's birth. It is not at all unreasonable for either one of them to have met Abram, although this is not mentioned in the scriptures. Many of Ham, Shem, and Japheth's sons and grandsons were giants as well, although maybe not as large as their fathers, but still much larger than the average person at Joseph's time. There were still some rather large stature persons at the time of David, such as Goliath. And guys, if you saw my video on the flood and Noah's Ark, like I said in there, the flood was 15 cubits high and it covered all of the mountaintops. Size of a cubit is the size of a man's arm. While Goliath was probably not as tall as Shem or Ham or their immediate descendants, he would have still seemed like a giant to the Israelites in David's time, and especially when the Israelites sent spies into the promised land. No doubt Abram was taller in stature and age, as Jacob concedes to the pharaohs of Egypt that his life is not as long and journeyed as that of his ancestors. So I think that's good for this video. I did show that Christianity.com says that most biblical scholars nowadays are starting to hold the view that the giants were Sethites and that everybody gradually got smaller in stature. So it really does, put the debate out on the table of who the sons of God really were and just exactly what all's going on. Because just to me personally, when I look at that, I mean, that's so early on in the Bible, Genesis 6, it throws a lot of things into question for me, just like all of the catastrophes of the 1812 era throwing our modern history and basically the conquest of the world that has happened in the last couple hundred years into question. And I could elaborate on more thoughts about the Nephilim, but I think I'll just leave it there for now and kind of slow my roll, and we'll take this one step at a time. I'm just trying to learn the truth, guys, in all aspects. And, I did want to say to everybody out there, hopefully I can inspire somebody in some way, because it's not easy to throw myself out there and say, wait, I don't care what everybody else is saying. This is the way I'm seeing this. And so don't be afraid to follow your hearts, guys. It's difficult. It's scary. But you got to be brave on the path. And let me tell you, you're going to have days of so much doubt. You're going to be beating yourself up like crazy, because that's what just happened to me. And then boom, God showed me that I'm not the only one to think this way. And now I don't think I'm quite so crazy. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves out there. Static out.